fast enough. So much interesting stuff. We'll take questions later when we have more time. I really blown away by that snake connection to language. Our next speaker is Dr. Robert Seyfarth. His field of study is ethology. I heard a lot about that last night from Dr. Goodall. He's an ethologist, primate social behavior, communication, and cognition. He's best known for his research of baboon social bonds and reasons for their behavior. I'll keep talking longer so I can give him time to set up. Reminds me of a story on the way over here. No. His current book is Baboon Metaphysics, The Evolution of a Social Mind. Let's see if we could try out the pointer before we begin. Everybody needs a laser. Have you got a laser pointer at work there?
No, this one has a little bit of a delay, but I think it's okay.
There was one on here.
Can you connect it through this cable? Okay. Let's see. I'm not getting anything out of this. Yeah.
Hey, look, I got one. I got one. This button over there.
Okay.
Everything else is, you don't want to touch it. Dr. Seyfarth, go ahead, please.
Thank you. We take it for granted that primates are extremely large-brained, intelligent creatures, and that they're also highly social. And we also assume that if we can understand the origins of primates' intelligence and sociality, then we can get an understanding of these same traits in modern humans. But for scientists, the questions about primates' intelligence and sociality really are challenges to the way we do our research. If primates are so intelligent, what do they have to be intelligent about? What in their lives has driven them to be that way? And if primates are so social, how in fact do they benefit from this sociality? How can we get from the ability to form close social relationships with others to differences in reproductive success? I'd like to try to answer some of these questions by talking about some work that Dorothy Cheney and I have been conducting for the last 16 years on baboons in the Okavango Delta of Botswana. As many of you know, baboons live in social groups of around 80 individuals, sometimes more, and the core of a baboon social group is a number of adult females who are ranked in a linear dominance hierarchy. The offspring acquire ranks immediately below those of their mothers, and so the group is arranged into really a hierarchy of matrilineal families, from the highest ranking individual in the highest ranking family here in the left, all the way down to the lowest ranking animal in the lowest ranking family. And if you want to summarize social behavior within a group of baboons, it basically follows the same two general principles as the characters in a Jane Austen novel. Be nice to your relatives and get in with the high-ranking families. Now, we know a lot about baboons' knowledge of each other's social relationships from experiments in which we tape record their vocalizations, then we make up playback tapes, and we play vocalizations to the animals from hidden speakers and film their responses. And we know from these experiments that baboons know a lot about each other's relationships, in the sense that a female not only knows who her relatives are, but she also knows that those individuals go together. She recognizes the relationship between other families. And in the case of the rank order, we know that a female who ranks in the middle of the hierarchy not only divides the world into those who rank above and below her, but she knows also that that's number 2, who outranks that's number 3, and 4, and so on down the line. So the question is, what is this kind of social intelligence good for? What does it get you? How has it evolved? This is a problem that has really befuddled ethologists for a long time because it's very difficult to see an immediate connection between social behavior and social intelligence and differences in reproductive success. If two animals groom on Tuesday afternoon, how does that make a difference? How does that affect their ability to rear offspring in the future? How do social individuals get an advantage over others that are a little bit less so? Well, we've been trying to investigate the link between social intelligence and relationships on the one hand and reproductive success on the other by studying a behavior that sort of intervenes in between the two, and that's the stress response. The idea is if you can get a notion that social relationships affect how you deal with stress, and how you deal with stress affects reproductive success, then you've formed the link that we'd like to do. So we're looking at what factors cause stress in baboons and what factors alleviate it. I'm sure many of you know about the stress response. When an animal is faced with an acute stressor, like, say, being attacked by a lion, a class of hormones called glucocorticoids are secreted, energy is mobilized, pain is blunted, cognition is sharpened, and all these things are good. They help you escape. But if stress is chronic and elevated glucocorticoids persist for a long period of time, it can be very deleterious. We also know that humans experience less stress when they have strong support networks that provide control and predictability. So that's our working our sort of hypotheses at the beginning. And there have been some really great technological innovations in recent years that allow us to study stress chronically among baboons. And the crucial innovation has been a way in which we can extract and measure glucocorticoids non-invasively. And that is, we get glucocorticoids from baboon poop. And so what we've been doing for the past 6 years is collecting a fecal sample. So here's Dorothy collecting a fecal sample from this female. And then in a highly elaborate and technical laboratory, we extract the glucocorticoids from these fecal samples. And we have anywhere from 18 to 23 females in our group and 10 or 11 males. And for about 6 years, we collected a fecal sample from each one of the adults once a week or twice every 10 days. So you get a long-running record of the females' glucocorticoid levels, and then you can see how the events that make up their lives affect them. And what we've found recently for adult females is here are the causes of stress. First of all, surprisingly, though dominance rank is pervasive in baboons, dominance rank doesn't affect a female's stress level. Low-ranking females are not under greater stress than high-ranking females are. The things that affect and cause stress in baboons are unpredictable events that come from outside. The first being infanticide. When a new male comes into the group from elsewhere, if he manages to rise to the alpha position, he then systematically tries to kill as many of the infants as he can in the group. And as you can imagine, this is highly stressful for females, particularly those with infants. So male immigration and infanticide is one of the major causes of elevated glucocorticoid levels. So is predation, which I'll talk about in a bit. But there's also one other thing that's a little bit more subtle. In the absence of infanticide and predation, how a female distributes her grooming seems to affect the kind of stress she experiences. So, for example, you can think of a female in a big group of baboons as having 2 different ways to distribute her grooming. If she's got, let's say, 10 possible female partners, she could give an equal amount of grooming to all 10. Or she could concentrate her grooming among a few select individuals. And what we've found is that if you can find a quiet period of time, no predation, no infanticide, and you look at the female's grooming distributions, what you find is those that focus their grooming on a few crucial partners have lower glucocorticoids. It's as if the baboon females are telling us by their stress response, it's better to have a few close friends than lots of acquaintances. And here's an example of one of these quiet times. So from September 2004 until May 2005, here are the glucocorticoid levels of 18 to 22 females, and they're all pretty low. And during that time, females with more focused grooming networks had lower glucocorticoids. Then lots of changes took place, and I'll talk about that in just a minute. And the question we want to know is, what happens when the females are challenged by one of